Hey, good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of the SME Rundown. I'm Dave O'Neill. I'm your host for this edition. I'm also the Vice President of the Media Group at SME. I'm joined this afternoon by Diego Tamburini, who's the Principal Industry Lead Manufacturing for Microsoft Azure. Diego, can you tell me a little bit about the Azure product and what it does and what it could offer to the market?
Sure, and thank you, Dave, for having me here. So Azure is, in general, is a cloud platform where software developers on top of which software developers develop applications. Right. So it provides the basic plumbing, if you will, for messaging, storage, security, you name it, right? Specifically for manufacturing, it's a subset of that is very interesting for manufacturing, which is the IoT services, the analytics services, and the machine learning services. So many software developers that are developing IoT solutions for their customers are now building their solutions on top of Azure. Okay. So we have, in a nutshell, we are a platform, a software platform vendor, and we work with partners to bring solutions to manufacturing customers. And many of them nowadays are around, they have some sort of IoT angle and data analytics and machine learning angle to it.
Okay, that's terrific. And nobody that I know has probably done more over the last few years out there speaking in the market, talking to the market about cloud computing and the opportunity for machine controls. Where do you see sort of the evolution in the market today? So the adoption rate, how far along are we? Where could we be in the next 3 to 5 years? From all your travels and from everybody you talk to, sort of where are we in the industry growth?
So when it comes to the Industry 4.0 vision that everybody talks about, it started with everybody wanting to connect. Okay. So the IoT was the next big thing. Okay. So everybody rushed to connect their devices, their products, their machines, everything. So that wave, I think, is already done. Okay. Now we are into an era where people are trying to figure out, okay, I have all this data, how can I extract value out of it? Okay. So you're seeing all sorts of vendors. For example, I was just looking at coming here, you have to go through all the machine tool vendors, right? And they have been connected for decades. They are sending sensor data for decades. But what I saw a lot is that they're offering attached services. So they're monetizing that IoT data that their own machines produce to deliver services like predictive maintenance or monitoring or optimization. Okay. So people are starting to really say, okay, not only nobody gathers IoT data for the sake of collecting data, but that's where people were a little bit stuck. Okay, what do I do now? And you're starting to see these cases where people are really finding value out of the IoT data for new sources of revenue, to optimize their own operations. So that's what I'm seeing more and more on the floor.
So most of the major machine tool builders are at least offering that as an alternative and add on to what they're.
Right. It's like, hey, you buy my machine, and we also have this service where we do predictive maintenance, and so it's a subscription service that kind of extends the value. It's not you sold the machine and you're done. Now you are attaching a service.
Right. No, that's great. And all this data is stored in the cloud, correct? And then, are there security issues around that, or are we past that? Is there a comfort level that everybody's comfortable with their data being stored in the cloud and doing analytics?
No, there's still a valid concern, and as the adoption of IoT, cloud-based IoT grows and grows, the surface area of attack also grows. So you'll hear more cases of attacks and hacks and things like that. So it's a valid concern. It's nothing to shy off of. But we, for example, at Microsoft, we're looking at how to secure the data, not only once it's in the cloud, which we know how to do very well. I mean, once the data is in the cloud, it's very hard to hack. The weak link is between the device and the cloud. Okay. So So
the human error portion of it?
The human error, but also when the machine is sending data over the internet.
Okay.
This is the I on IoT.
Okay, right.
So that part, we are working on securing that at not only at the transport level, but also at the chip level. So with that, we can secure that the data that you're transmitting from a device in your factory floor is safe from the machine all the way to our cloud.
That's great. But at SME, we deal with a lot of small to medium-sized operations, and if they come to the Microsoft Azure booth, what would they see, or what could you introduce them to?
So they will see, right now at our booth, we're focusing on IoT. Our booth here is about IoT, and we're showing IoT solutions. So the IoT solutions is the actual application that an end user will interface with. Okay. So I want to see a dashboard with multiple KPIs and see how my factories are doing. Or if I see an alarm, I can drill in and see this machine is having a problem, right? Okay. So that's the solution. Okay. These solutions are built on top of some type of platform. So we have, of course, Azure. You can build these solutions on top of Azure directly, but we also work with partners that have like intermediate IoT platforms to facilitate the construction of these IoT solutions. So if someone came to me and I see that it's a small and medium manufacturer, and hey, I want to build an IoT solution to do X or Y, I will actually discourage them, and this will sound a little bit counterintuitive, I will discourage them from trying to build it directly on Azure. Okay. I would say these are these great partners who build their solutions on Azure, but make it much easier for you to build an IoT solution.
And that'll help them get started.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, of course, there will always be the big OEMs in the planet. They have the IT resources to do it themselves, and they are. I mean, we have multiple enterprise customers who are building their IoT solutions directly on top of Azure. But for the bulk of the manufacturer in the US who wants to do something with IoT, I would say don't try to do it yourself. Get a solution that is easier for you to, like, pre-configure solution that you can tweak to your needs. Don't try to build your own IoT solution from scratch.
And you're always great at telling me about technical terms and putting them into layman's language. Tell me about edge computing. What is edge computing, and where does it fit?
So edge computing it's easier to understand what it is when you explain the scenario when you don't have edge computing. So without edge computing, you have a device connected to the cloud. That's very possible, and people do that. Okay. Now, say for example that there is an application here that is monitoring the temperature, and if it's above certain level, some action needs to take place. Shut down the machine, do something else, raise an alarm, send SMS messages to all these people. Now, in some applications, the latency to go from the device in the factory floor to the cloud and back is not acceptable. Okay. It's the bytes can only travel so fast. So in those cases, you want to shift that logic into the plant floor, into an edge device.
I got you. Okay.
So that's one use when latency is a concern and you want to have some analytics right next to the machine.
Okay.
Other uses of edge computing, other reasons why people do edge computing is because they are not comfortable sending all their IoT data over the internet. Okay. So they do some processing and aggregation and summarize stuff, and they only send some data to the cloud. So edge computing is coming up as a pattern, IoT pattern, increasingly to address latency and concerns about data.
That's great, and that should be helpful to anybody in the market, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it's not that difficult. It's basically some of the processing that used to happen in the cloud now is happening closer to the device.
Okay. And I think that's a wrap. So I'd like to thank my friend Diego Tamburini for coming on, and as always, explaining really complicated technical terms in a simple way that I can understand. And we'll see you down the road at IMTS.